Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, the series where I share my review and my opinion for different video games that I've experienced. Today's video is about the birth of the Phantom Thieves, and I'm referring to the original Persona 5. Disclaimer: the gameplay in the background comes from Persona 5 Royale, which allowed game recording, and some come from Persona 5 Strikers. The cutscenes shown are once again from the first 1 hour in the game. As I mentioned in prior videos, Persona was a game I wasn't planning on playing anytime soon, even though I liked the character designs, but two of my friends convinced me otherwise. After one playthrough, which was a total of 87 hours, and managed to be my second most played game, I beat the story of the game. Keep in mind, within my 87 hours, these do not consist of the Platinum Trophy and do not consist of maximizing all of the confidence relationships. I did plenty, but not all. Also, near the end, I did rush some of the dialogues with random NPCs, as they did not offer anything new. Furthermore, some of the exam questions I use internet to find the answers. Last but not least, I had the ultimate version of the game, and I was given a few personas which I used, which means I did not start from zero with persona mixing. However, I can guarantee you, I did not abuse my given personas. For example, I didn't use a level 80 persona within a level 20 dungeon. One of my friends who convinced me was next to me when I was playing the game, so he can guarantee that I did not use any overpowered personas. Persona 5 is a turn-based RPG role-playing game developed by Atlus, a subsidiary part of Sega. Atlus is known for their work on the popular Shin Megami Tensei series and of course Persona. Persona 5 was a game long in development and was released in 2016 as a PlayStation exclusive. The game was released by Atlus themselves. Needless to say, the long-awaited game was well received from the fans, and this was shown not only by the sales, but from the huge amount of awards the game earned. Furthermore, the popularity of Persona 5 led to the creation of two spin-off games, an expanded version aka Persona 5 Royale, an anime series, and plenty of collaboration with other titles such as Smash Bros. And Sword Art Online, and others. To start with, there are two terms I have to explain. Persona. Persona is a spirit powerful manifestation of someone's inner self. Most have only one persona, except for certain special people. Personas are used in the metaverse, an alternative universe shaped by people's desires. Palace. The main villains have palaces. A palace is a manifestation of distortion, strong negative or corrupt thoughts that warp the perception of peoples into a hazard for themselves and others. A palace allows the villain to feel superior, and they all have a treasure. The treasure is what the thieves need to successfully acquire. The story of the game I won't spoil much, as Persona is a game that's heavily story driven. To sum up, you control Ren Amaya, who is accused of a crime and was sent to Tokyo to continue his study for a year. He was chosen by a higher being to play the role of the trickster who will try to prevent an evil deity to attack the world. Along the way, he makes new friends and confidants that will help him in his adventures. There are people who are being terrible human beings and manipulate others. Ren and his friends dive into the metaverse, a parallel universe, and they take different form and nicknames. Ren, also known as the Joker, and his friends slowly form the Phantom Thieves, and they are tasked to venture inside the palaces and locate the treasures. Their goal is to steal the palace treasure, which will perform a change of heart for the villain in the real world. Each time though, the enemies are different, and all of them give the player a certain timestamp to finish their mission. I really love the story of the game and its characters. The game knows how to pace itself. There's plenty of dialogue, plenty of in-game and full-on animated cutscenes, and of course amazing music that sets the atmosphere. As you may realize, the game takes place during the 1 year that Joker was sent to study in Tokyo. Persona 5 has two types of gameplay: the gameplay inside the metaverse and the gameplay set in the real world. The gameplay in the metaverse is simple, very similar to Pokemon and Final Fantasy VII. You venture inside the palace. Your goal is to find the treasure room. Inside the palace there's plenty of guards, where the player can choose to stealthily avoid them, ambush them, or head-on attack them. Ambush will always reward the player with the first strike. However, the enemy can ambush the players themselves and take the first attack. The player controls a party of 4 thieves, each of them having their own persona. Joker will always be in the party. Similar to Pokemon, certain personas are effective against others based on their elements. For example, fire will be most effective against ice. The heroes possess a health bar and an SP bar. SP is the energy that allows the usage of persona. The player can customize his equipment to restore points by doing certain stuff or straight up heal with items. During combat, if the player explores the weakness and knocks down the opponent, they get a second strike. If all the enemies are knocked down, the player has the option to do an all-out attack, which does a lot of damage, or communicate with the monster. During communication, you can ask them for items, money, or to regroup them. In order to regroup them, they ask you a set of 3 questions, and if your answer is to their liking, they'll join your team. A persona that's already owned by the player will simply reward the player without need of a dialogue. Inside the palaces, the players need to secure the path to the treasure room by solving certain puzzles and having to do stuff outside in the real world. Once this is done, they need to do something in the real world so that the boss battle can begin. There are certain save rooms where the player can save their progress and act as a checkpoint for the next time they visit and come inside the palace. The player loses if Joker dies and respawns to the last save point. However, the actual game over comes only in the form of failing to clear the palace within the certain timestamp. Keep in mind, each time you leave the palace and come to the real world, you won't be able to revisit it. The game outside of the palace is similar to a student simulator. The game follows a day-by-day cycle. The player has a plethora of options to select from. These options are hanging out with your friends and confidants, which will increase their bond. Increasing bond has plenty of advantages such as skills, the ability to protect Joker from certain attacks, debuffs, and others. Bonds outside of the thieves will reward the players with better items, certain skills, side quests, and others. The players can go around and visit the shops to buy items for their trip to the palace. Joker can go around and study to boost his knowledge or go to his job, which will increase certain stats based on their job selection, or some certain sports. Last but not least, if the player doesn't want to go to do any of the following options, they can go into the Mementos. Mementos is an area in the metaverse where the players do not seek a treasure, but more or less fight with enemies, if combat is what they enjoy the most. The game will keep track of the answers you give and the bonds, and will have different dialogues, endings, and others based on the player's performance. This means that no matter how many times the player plays the game, he will most likely have a different experience. All the palaces are unique to their users. As I mentioned, they are all based on how disordered the person sees the world. This created plenty of unique designs with their own unique puzzles and challenges. At the same time, all of the personas are unique. Their designs are really nice, crazy, and I love them. There's plenty of them, which adds a lot to the game's likeness. Certain personas cannot be found outside of a certain palace, so the player should make sure to regroup as many as they can. Also, this is a must-know fact: when a palace is cleared, the player cannot revisit it, so any chest or items left behind should be collected before clearing the final boss fight. Joker can access the Velvet Room. Within the Velvet Room, Joker is capable of mixing new personas, empowering the ones they already own, and regroup older personas that they once made. Moreover, the player can use the items earned within the palace and equip them in the personas they have. I would recommend always have a persona capable of healing, resurrecting, buffs and debuffs, a persona that they will be the ones they mainly use during a certain palace, and 2 personas that both contain elemental skills for all cases, so that you can always have a knockdown on enemies. Other than that, always store a persona you're about to delete in order to be able to withdraw it at any point. Last but not least, I should mention the music of the game. It is fantastic. Honestly, there's so many good OSTs and most of them are memorable. Whether it's Last Surprise, Rivers in the Deserts, Blooming Villain, Change of Heart, and plenty of others, they always set the mood. As I briefly mentioned, the cinematography is fantastic as well. There is plenty of moments where I was caught by surprise, moments where I was speechless, moments where I laughed a lot, and plenty of moments where I almost cried. It is a unique experience, and thankfully they paced it so well that even though I was playing it for 87 hours, I still remember the story and certain events. Here are a few advices. Always make sure to keep the heroes upgraded. What I mean, make sure you change their guns, main weapons and armor. Not doing so will result on dealing low damage and getting heavily damaged. Always ambush the enemy to get the first hit. All the floating enemies are most likely weak against bullets. Try to raise the confidence level to as high as possible, as the more you raise it, the better they get, and the more abilities and offers they give Joker. Do not panic when they give you a timestamp. In most cases, the time they give you is more than enough. Listen carefully to the advice they give you, as some options will change the ending of the game. Do not look for spoilers, as they will ruin everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comments below if you experienced Persona 5 or even Persona 5 Royale, the extended version, and what were your thoughts on it. You can also check the playlist containing other games, reviews, including my Persona 5 Strikers. Till then, take care and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!